Good. Good morning, basketball fans. We are here at the Met Park Sports Center in Pasay City on is it Tuesday? Yes, it is a Tuesday as we have 4 games slated here today for the second conference of the National Developmental Sports League, one of our newest leagues here in the Metro, featuring the CSB Blazers going up against Smash Basketball for our first game for the 25 and under division. For our next game, we have the Perpetual Altas going up against Marinerong Pilipino San Beda. That's also a 25 and under division. And for our last 2 games, that's going to be for the 19 and under division. Once again, Smash Basketball going up against the Emilio Aguinaldo College Brigadiers. And for our final game today at 1:30 p.m., we have the the Lyceum Junior Pirates, going up against the Perpetual Junior Altas. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kyle Sanchez, together with my partner Sandy Grumo and our courtside reporter Beyonce Puss today. And before we get things started, we have the CSB Blazers coming from a loss and Smash Basketball coming from a win. So 2 contrasting stories here today for our first game. But before we get things started, we will have a report from our courtside reporter, Beyonce. Beyonce, take it away. Before we turn you over to our courtside reporter, Beyonce, again, we have an interesting matchup here today between both teams. Smash Basketball winning their first game on opening day against the Perpetual Altas. That was a come-from-behind victory. Perpetual was leading almost the entire game, but Smash Basketball made a run in the 4th quarter to steal that one against Perpetual. St. Benil Blazers, meanwhile, coming from a loss against San Beda in their first game, trying to bounce back and even things up in their record, in their standing. But I think our courtside reporter, Beyonce, is ready now for her pre-game report. Take it away, Beyonce.
We are kicking off today with the big boys. On one side, we have CSB Blazers, while most of their lineup is fresh faces, with some not even entering college yet. Do not be fooled. This is the same system that produced the reigning NCAA champions. Their league debut may not have ended as they hoped, but consider this a preseason warm-up for a powerhouse in the making. Facing them is Smash Basketball, club team that just smashed expectations. Literally, in their first game, they turned the tide after halftime to beat Perpetual Altas by 10. And here's the kicker. More than half of their total points came from the bench. Who says only starters can shine? This squad proves that every player can be a game changer. The matchup is set. It is college prestige versus club grit. Who will take control? Game time is near, so let me turn it over to Sandy Grumo.
Let's meet the starters for the College of St. Benil Blazers. Wearing jersey number 1, Arle Podador. Wearing jersey number 15, Matthew Hocom. Wearing jersey number 24, Angelo Vangraja. Number 25, Christian Abad. And number 4, Ralph Maliki. Their head coach is Paulo Lyon. The starters for the CSB Blazers. And now, let's meet the starters for Smash Basketball. Number 10, Noel Zipagan. Number 19, Charles Vega. Number 35, Eugene Gonzalez. number 45, J.M. Pimentel, and number 72, Whitmar Magalan. Their head coach is Ralph Lawrence. The starters for Smash Basketball. The officials, Dominador Robina, Francis Salem, and Edwin Calzada.
For our starting lineup for the CSB Blazers, we have Balikig, Podador, Abad, Hukom, and Vanguardia. For Smash Basketball, we have Gonzalez, Vega, Pimentel, Maglalang, and Zipagan. It's tip-off time. First of 4 games here today. Second game day for the second conference of the NDSL. CSB Blazers going up against Smash Basketball. Smash Basketball winning the tip, but getting blocked on their first shot attempt. This is a relatively young lineup for both squads. Some new recruits here, some fresh faces for the St. Benil Blazers. And Coach Paulo Layug at the helm, trying to manage this young squad and get them their first victory here in the second conference. Smash Basketball missing what I would say is their main player in a former teammate of mine, Rafael Flores, who suffered an ACL tear in a Ligang Labas game just 2 months ago. Currently recovering and strengthening. Did not get surgery, but going through therapy at the moment as St. Benil draws first blood. Rather, that is the second basket now, 4-0 in favor of St. Benil, courtesy of Vanguardia for that coast-to-coast layup. Smash Basketball now on the board as well. Good job crashing the offensive glass for Gonzalez, tallest player on the floor at the moment for Smash Basketball. Smash Basketball, a team comprised mostly of players from the Novaliches and Caloocan area. We all know that place has produced a number of good professional basketball players, some hard workers, and some gritty players. And the Smash Basketball team carries that same identity with them. Might not have your usual household names, but they've always given more notable teams a fight as St. Benil once again scores on the break. Smash Basketball needs to do a better job in their transition defense, as that is a steal by Balikig. And that is a heads-up play for Vanguardia, just misses the layup. Might have gone foul there, but no call from our officials. Pimentel reading, surveying the defense, but just short on that mid-range jumper. Hukom bringing up that ball. Hukom, a transferee from La Salle, from De La Salle University, now finding another home with the St. Benil Blazers, just donning a slightly different shade of green. That is going to be a foul on the entry pass. Vega trying to seal Abad down low. Not an easy task for anyone. Abad might be the biggest body on the floor here for both teams. As Vega hands it off, Pimentel. And Smash Basketball trying to pound that ball inside, and this time Gonzalez scoring once again. He has all 4 points for Smash Basketball. It's only a 2-point lead, 6-4. Still a lot of time in the first quarter, 6 minutes and 39 seconds. Both baskets of Smash Basketball coming from Gonzalez in the paint. Pimentel gets called for the foul. Vanguardia, number 24, doing a good job of crashing the offensive glass off of that corner three-point miss from Podador. As we see our first pair of substitutions here. Arshaga checking in for the first time for St. Benilde. Abad takes a seat. And Vega heads to the bench for smash basketball in favor of Agustin, as Vanguardia is good for his first free throw attempt. A lefty shooter for the St. Benilde Blazers. A good scorer in transition, as we just saw in the previous possessions. Vanguardia has a knack of finding gaps in the defense, especially on the break. Is short on that second free throw. St. Benilde still up by 3, 7-4. Motion offense here for smash basketball, and there's a breakdown on the defense. Attacking baseline was Zepagan. A good idea there coming from Zepagan to throw that ball up ahead, but good transition defense for St. Benilde. Podador deflecting that pass. The ball will stay with smash basketball with 19 seconds on their shot clock at a baseline inbound. Almost a knockout play there, but ends up in a turnover instead. Would have been a good move, but Hukom gets called for the travel. Good pass there by Balikig at the last second. Fortunately, Hukom had the right idea with that up fake. Unfortunately, got called for steps as Agustin gets his own miss and passes it off. Gonzalez once again scoring down low. All 6 of his points have come from underneath the basket. As we see here, that last play, good pass there coming from Agustin to find Gonzalez open for the N1. First trip to the line for smash basketball here in this game, courtesy of Eugene Gonzalez. Gonzalez completes the N1. He now has a total of 7 points to his name. And smash basketball is up 9-7 early here in the first quarter, almost at the halfway mark, as Balikig breaks down the defense, slicing through the middle for that lefty layup. Well, Coach Paulo Layug has a couple of talented lefty slashers on this lineup on the floor right now with Balikig and Vanguardia. That is an awkward looking three-pointer off the mark. A good ball movement here from St. Benilde, ends up in the hands of Vanguardia once again, overshoots that three-pointer from the corner. Unfortunately, Garcia is not able to control that leather as the ball goes back to St. Benilde. We are all tied up at 9 apiece. 4 minutes and 31 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, as we turn you over for a report by our courtside reporter, Beyonce. Beyonce, take it away.
Kyle, as we are seeing on that bench, Coach Paulo Layug is back to lead the Blazers after missing the first game due to being out of town. After reuniting, his immediate words to James Ison is that as a point guard, your responsibility is the organization of the team in the court, which Coach Paulo believes could have been better during their last match. These fresh from senior high school players ranging 19 to 21-year-olds are trained not just to play basketball, but also to create presentations every after practice. Yes, complete with PowerPoint and everything to further deepen their bond. Because number one thing that Coach Pau wants is empathy between the Blazers. With us in this first game is Podador, who also missed the first match due to a thumb injury, and Coach Ren is expecting him to bring out an energetic defense as well as shots from beyond the arc. They're hoping his presence can be the upgrade that can make the difference. Kyle?
Thank you for that report, Beyonce, and that's something that you don't see quite often. Coaches asking their players to make PowerPoint presentations after practice. An interesting tactic there for Coach Paulo Layug, and a bit unorthodox, but definitely you can see that that type of chemistry is showing on the floor, as even though they lost their first game, they've been playing well here against Smash Basketball with that Arshaga floater. Coach Paulo Layug, I have spent some time with him these past months as I have been training with the Gilas Women 3x3 team as a part-time practice player. Coach Paulo Layug, of course, the assistant coach for our Gilas 3x3 women's team. And I've seen firsthand how active he is and how hands-on he is with players. Of course, Coach Paulo, still young himself, and very easy for him to be able to relate to players. And for the College of St. Benilde, as Beyonce reported, they have a bunch of players who are around the 19 to 21-year-old range, and that youth is evident on the floor with some of the mistakes that they've been making, but at the same time, you can see the energy and the effort that they've been bringing every game. And Ison, seeing his first minutes of action here today, one of the players Beyonce reported on being relied upon by Coach Paulo to be one of the stabilizers of his team. Of course, being a point guard, you have to be an extension of the coach on the floor, and he's on doing that right now, calling his teammates as Smash Basketball is at the free throw line, trying to gather themselves. That's the first personal foul for Gonzalez, main scorer for Smash Basketball here in the first quarter, as Kua misses that first free throw. Kua also seeing action for the first time today. Kua knocks down his second free throw. The lead is up to 3 once again for CSB, 14-11, as Ison, applying pressure in the backcourt, unfortunately gets called for a foul, and not a good foul at that, as St. Benilde has been in the penalty already, so that will send Zoilo to the free throw line. Well, you have to appreciate the aggressiveness on defense. At the same time, you have to be aware of your team foul situation. You don't want to give easy baskets to the opposing team, as Zoilo knocks down the first free throw. You have to, that's a fine line to walk, to be aggressive on defense, but avoid fouling, especially when you're in the penalty. Zoilo is short on the second free throw. He's on trying to push the tempo here. Ison was open in the corner for a three-pointer, but decides to give it up for a higher percentage shot. Ortega, the recipient of a nice pass from Ison, finishing it off with a layup. Zoilo almost gets fouled once again. Instead, gives it over to Garcia rather. He has been looking for that shot all quarter, still off the mark on that three-pointer. As Podador with a long floater there. Arshaga misses the putback, gets his own miss, misses once again. Smash Basketball dodging a bullet there, giving 2 offensive rebounds to Arshaga, as Garcia attacks the paint, gets the basket from the other side of the rim. Reverse layup there by Patrick Garcia, cuts his lead down to 2, 14-16, still in favor of St. Benilde, as Ison is fouled and does not appreciate the contact. Smash Basketball still not in the penalty. That is only their third team foul. Ortega passes up the three for an even more open three from Podador. Good decision there by Ortega to pass it over to an open teammate. Podador making the defense pay, leaving him open. Zoilo surveying the defense here. Good pass. The ball movement of Smash Basketball has been taking advantage of the defensive lapses of St. Benil. Podador attacks the basket, but is fouled by by Zoilo. That is Zoilo's first foul as we saw that beautiful pass to a cutting teammate. 16 seconds on the shot clock here, 30 on the game clock. As Isan hesitates on that corner three-pointer and overshoots the mark, but St. Benil gets the offensive rebound. There's going to be last shot time here for Smash Basketball. Zoilo being guarded by Isan at the top of the key. A two-man game here between Zoilo and Agustin. Finds the open Patrick Garcia in the corner, overshoots that three-pointer. 1 second now for St. Benil as Isan is short on that half-court heave to end the quarter. 19-16 is the score in favor of the College of St. Benil Blazers. First quarter of action is over. We still have 3 quarters to go. Do not go anywhere. We will be right back. Second quarter action is about to get underway here. St. Benil Blazers leading 19-16 at the end of the first quarter. First possession of the second quarter goes to St. Benil Blazers with Balikig back manning the point for the white shirts with Hukom attacking the basket, dishes it over for a short stab. Good ball movement here by St. Benil. Finished off by Parakeles. And that's going to be a turnover here for Smash Basketball. Podador off to the races. Finishing the break. Good transition offense here by St. Benil as Zoilo gets fouled by Podador. Not an easy task for the guards of St. Benil to stay in front of Zoilo. Zoilo, one of the fastest players in this league. Might not be the tallest, but definitely you have to respect not just his foot speed, but his court vision and his outside shooting and his decision making as well. Very good point guard for Smash Basketball. 10 seconds on the shot clock now. Hukom getting that steal, finishes the break. As Smash Basketball is forced to call an early timeout here in the second quarter, as the lead is now up to 9 for the College of St. Benil Blazers. Here, let's take a look at that last steal and conversion from Matthew Hukom. We have a timeout here from Smash Basketball. Do not go anywhere. Second quarter action commencing here after that quick timeout by Smash Basketball, trying to stop the run of St. Benil here. Balikig once again pushes the tempo. Hukom wide open for that three-pointer, still feeling it. I guess that timeout by Smash Basketball did nothing to slow the momentum here of Matthew Hukom and the Blazers. And that is going to be a foul on CSB. Tibang attacking the baseline. And this was that last three-pointer by Hukom. Can't leave him open. And for the past few possessions, Smash Basketball has left the shooters of St. Benil with too much time to get a clean look from beyond the arc. Earlier it was Podador, this time Hukom getting that three-pointer. No one on the side of Smash Basketball bothering to close out. And in a high-level basketball game such as this, you have to defend each possession. You can't just rely on your opponents to miss, as Tibang is short on that second free throw. The lead is now up to double digits for CSB, 28-17. Hukom with the ball. Good pass to Cutting Arshaga, just overshooting that gimme. Sorry miss there for Arshaga, but that is going to be a turnover here to Smash Basketball. A correction, that was a deflection by the Blazers, so the ball will stay with Smash. 18 seconds on their shot clock at the baseline. Inbound incoming here. That is going to be a loose ball foul. I believe that's going to be on Vega. That's correct. Charles Vega called for that loose ball foul. Obvious push on the back of Arshaga, right in front of our officials. Hukom getting a screen from Arshaga, momentarily open, but that's all the time he needed. Just a split second to take a quick glance at the rim was enough for Hukom to knock down his second three-pointer of the game from the same spot, no less. As Tibang trying to break down the defense of Ronquillo. We all know Ronquillo is one of the peskier defenders in college basketball. One of the shortest players in college basketball, but you can never count out his heart. Former San Beda Red Cub, former UST Tiger Cub. Suited up for San Sebastian College in some preseason tournaments before ultimately transferring to St. Benil, where he looks to have found his forever home, at least for his basketball collegiate career is concerned, as he takes that mid-range jumper. Lance Ronquillo, reminiscent of a former, well, not a Blazer, but also donning the green and white. It looked like a young T.Y. Tang on that possession. Baliki gets called for a foul. CSB once again in danger of getting into the penalty early. Oh, that was that foul by Baliki. A little extension on the forearm was enough for our officials to blow their whistle as Gonzalez picking up where he left off, scoring 9 points in the first quarter. Now attacking the basket once again, the mobile and athletic wing slash big for Smash Basketball, Eugene Gonzalez, trying to keep his team in this one. That is a wonderful sidestep. Zibagan evading two defenders that time, driving baseline, scoring underneath the basket as Arshaga once again, similar play, handoff to Hukom, but this time Arshaga gets that ball once again and misses. Another pass from Hukom. At this rate, Hukom is gonna stop passing the ball to Arshaga if he keeps missing more of those layups. Arshaga claiming he was fouled, but that outlet pass was stolen by Smash Basketball, and Vega trying to bully his way into the paint, gets called for an offensive foul. Good job by Hukom selling that call. Vega not agreeing with the officials. Nevertheless, that's going to be another turnover for Smash Basketball as Hukom sits on the bench in favor of Podador, checks back into this game. Arshaga with the ball at the top of the key. Two-man game between Balikig. Balikig passes it over to Ortega, who does not disappoint. And look at this, Lance Ronquillo picking up the full length of the floor, trying to delay Tibang and the rest of Smash Basketball from setting up their half-court offense. But Gonzalez, not to be denied underneath. He has been automatic from that range. He keeps things simple. Not a lot of wasted movement coming from Eugene Gonzalez. As soon as he gets that ball that deep in the paint, he just goes up for the shot, and it's been very effective so far for Smash Basketball. But there is going to be a timeout called here by Coach Paulo Layug and the rest of the St. Benil Blazers. 35-23 is the score. 4 minutes and 33 seconds remaining here in the second quarter. We'll be right back after this short timeout.
Smash Basketball's star player turned coach Rafael Flores is more fuel to prove something, especially since they are facing his own coach in MPBL Manila, Coach Paulo Layug. Their timeouts consisted of constantly urging more communication within that hardwood. He's urging them to apply their own basketball wisdom and call for rotation switches when they deem necessary, specifically the big man on their team. The best player of last game, Ken Agustin, expects their team to rely on their age advantage and significant experience difference compared to the young guns of CSB. As a club team, they know they have to prioritize strengthening their on-court chemistry by deepening their off-court bonds, which they do through making sure they all eat together in complete attendance every after practice. Let's see whether their famous bond can prove enough to catch up. Kyle?
Thank you for that report, Beyonce Acosta. And yes, the star player of Smash Basketball, who is injured right now, as we mentioned earlier, Rafael Flores, did spend some time with CSB coach Paulo Layug in the MPBL for the Manila team. Now they're on opposite sides of the floor. Coach Rafael, a de facto coach right now as he is still recovering from an ACL tear. still a couple of months away from getting full recovery, currently strengthening that knee. But it's good that he is, instead of just sitting this game out and watching from home, he is actively trying to guide his teammates. And who knows, this may open a coaching career in the future for Rafael Flores. He is a very good point guard. I've spent some time with him. We were teammates a couple of years ago, and even at his young age, he's able to read the floor very well, and a high IQ point guard. Right now, sharing that knowledge with his teammates in Smash Basketball, who, yes, Beyonce reported, they do have the age advantage, if you will, against these young players of St. Benilde. Right now, St. Benilde enjoying a 16-point lead here as Eugene Gonzalez flexing his muscles against Archaga in the paint. And Gonzalez, the only player so far for Smash Basketball in double figures. As we see here, he was boxed out by David Cruz already, but he used those long arms to get the offensive rebound over Cruz. Getting that and one to go against Archaga. Gonzalez completing the and one, the brightest spot, the brightest star so far here for Smash Basketball, cutting this lead down to 13. David Cruz with a beautiful look there through the cutting Ortega. But you have to appreciate the ball movement of St. Benilde as David Cruz forces the turnover on Agustin. The pesky backcourt tandem of Lance Ronquillo and David Cruz working wonders here for St. Benilde. David Cruz getting hit by a slight elbow to the face by Agustin. David Cruz getting low enough for his face to be right at elbow level, as our officials are now going to review that last play to see if there was anything else that happened here after that pass by Cruz to Ortega. Upon the inbound, we see here David Cruz trying to be the pesky defender that he is against Agustin. Initial call on the floor was an offensive foul on Agustin, which will give the ball back to St. Benilde, but of course our officials trying to get the correct call, which is why they're reviewing that last play. And let's wait for the official announcement from our referees. David Cruz, a neighbor of mine in Manila. I see him sometimes in the gym getting that extra work in, so you know he is one of the hardest workers on this St. Benilde team. David Cruz, a member of the champion 21 and under team in the junior MPBL's inaugural D-League season, so you know he has the pedigree of a winner, doing all the little things here, like forcing a turnover for his squad, as our officials have come up with a verdict. Now let's wait for the official announcement.
Offensive foul on number 4, Ralph Batling. And warning on number 5, David Cruz for faking a foul.
Oh, well, it seems our officials have completely overturned their initial call on the floor. And let's see if that's the final call here regarding the last play. It looks to be a foul on Balikig. And not only that, David Cruz gets warned for faking a foul, as his teammates on the bench just laughing it off. A bit of confusion here between both teams, because St. Benilde gets possession. So I guess that was a turnover for Smash Basketball, as Archaga gives it over to Lance Ronquillo at the top of the key. But Hucom open once again from the corner. Another three-pointer here for Matthew Hukom. He is on fire here in the first half, and the lead has now ballooned to 18, 44-26 in favor of St. Benil, as Eugene Gonzalez right now is the only player on Smash Basketball who's trying to keep his team afloat. But Yao trying to add to the mix, getting that deflection and finishing the break with a transition three-pointer, which forces Coach Paulo Layu to call for a timeout here. We are back here, second quarter action. Well, we're almost done with the second quarter. A minute and 43 remaining here. St. Benil, they were up by 18 just a couple of possessions ago, but now it's down to 13. 5-0 run here, courtesy of Eugene Gonzalez and Yao. Now almost another turnover by St. Benil, but instead Archaga gets that shot off. Was not successful. And Yao cherry picking on the other side of the floor. Finishes the break as Ortega attacks baseline and is double teamed. And that is almost another turnover here, but Hukom controls the leather. And it looks like the turnover is going to be completed. The defensive Smash Basketball just making life difficult here for the guards of St. Benil to get a clean look. And this is what's dangerous about the Smash Basketball squad. Even though, as we mentioned, they may look undersized, they don't have your usual household names, but they will always put up 100% effort each and every game. And that was precisely how they won their first match against Perpetual. They were down for almost the entire game, forced overtime, and won in overtime, getting that first victory. And now they're trying to claw their way back here against St. Benil, but that is going to be a turnover, 24-second shot clock violation. Pimentel taking a second too long to attempt that three-pointer. Ball goes back to St. Benil as Podador checks into the game for Ortega. Same play here for St. Benil. Balikig asking for a screen for Archaga. A broken play now for CSB. The pass was almost too high, but Hukom showing us that athleticism here and almost turning garbage into gold, but that is gonna be a foul on Smash. And seeing as they are in a penalty, that will be 2 free throws coming up for Vanguardia. Anthony Vanguardia started things off for St. Benil, scoring 3 consecutive transition layups, now back at the free throw line to try and extend this lead. That is going to be a rare air ball here for Anthony Vanguardia, the lefty slasher for St. Benil. Might have sat on the bench a little too long there, trying to get his rhythm back, and is good on the second free throw, which just means that that air ball was definitely a fluke for Anthony. Gonzalez bringing up the ball here, hands it over to the point guard, who is being guarded tightly by David Cruz. 8 seconds on the game clock here. Yao corner three-pointer overshoots the mark, and Ortega gets the rebound, but that's going to be a turnover. Last second shot for Patrick Garcia. Off to the left, but Smash Basketball down by 12 as we head into the halftime break, 45-33 in favor of the College of St. Benil Blazers as we check out our move of the half. And this is that beautiful sidestep which happened earlier here in the second quarter. Zipagan evading the defenders there for that move of the half. We will take a quick 3-minute break here at the half. We will be back for second half action here between CSB and Smash Basketball.
Coach Paulo Layug, you're an esteemed coach that has trained high caliber players. What do you think joining this Ndsl league can contribute to your young players? Like, what is the most important lesson that you want them to take away after this league?
Okay, for me, I appreciate that there's leagues like NDSL. It gives an opportunity for our players to get exposed to high-level competition. And for me, my message always to the players is whoever we play, even if they're older, better, more veteran, have more exposure, we always have to try and compete. For me, the best way to play is to play against good competition. So that's why we're here.
And good competition this is. Now, I'm sure people are curious because I've mentioned this in my earlier report. Tell us more about the presentations that you require your players to make after trainings and how this can add to their growth as players and as a team.
Well, first of all, we do the presentation so that number one, their teammates get to know more about them, their interests, their family, where they're from. We have a lot of players from all around, not only the country, but around the world. So for me, it's like a little bonding moment and an opportunity for the players to get to know their teammates. And then number two, it's also for them to work on their presentation skills. We all know basketball is not forever. They might have a different job after college or after their pro career. So just want to give them some life skills, one of which is how to present.
Well, thank you so much, Coach Layug, and I hope the second half of this game will turn out exactly as you expect it to. Good luck to you.
Now let's check out the highlights from the first half of action. It was a close ball game at the end of the first quarter, 19-16, but in the second quarter, St. Benil going on a run to end up with a double-digit lead here at the start of the second half. The lead was as high as 18. Smash Basketball cutting it down to 12 here, 45-33, and we are now at the start of the third quarter with Zoilo bringing that ball up. Smash Basketball with the first possession of the third quarter. And Vega at the top of the key, trying to break down the defense of Anthony Vanguardia, but that is going to be called an offensive foul on Vega, lowering his shoulder on Anthony Vanguardia. Vanguardia also doing a good job of selling that call. It's one thing to flop, but it's also another thing to actually take that hit and sell the call to the referees. Rafael Flores, our de facto coach right now for Smash Basketball, not happy with that call. As we see the two teams who are gearing up for our second game here today, the Team B of San Beda Red Lions against the Perpetual Altas, as that is gonna be a reverse dipsy-do layup coming from Podador. First basket for the second half, courtesy of Podador and the St. Benil Blazers, as Vanguardia gets the steal and finishes it off, or rather smokes the layup. Would have been a good transition play, but Vanguardia missing that layup, but this time Gonzalez getting fouled on the break. Gonzalez, of course, the highest scorer for Smash Basketball in the first half. Now back at the free throw line for two free throws. When your big man runs the floor as a guard, we are instructed to give that ball up and reward your big man, because it takes a lot more effort for our big men to run the floor, of course. Gonzalez misses the first of two free throws, but is good on the second. Eugene Gonzalez manning the paint for the CSB Blazers. Balikig orchestrating the offense here, finds Hukom, who was the highest scorer for St. Benil in the first half. Gets blocked on that layup attempt. Zoilo with a transition three-pointer. That is good for Zoilo. The lead is now down to 10 here. Smash Basketball in a 1-2-2 zone, trying to give a different look here for the Blazers. That's going to be a turnover. Balikig gets that ball poked free from him. And good transition defense there. Podador with the block. But the ball will stay with Smash Basketball. 18 seconds on their shot clock. Zoilo could have taken that three-pointer, instead gives it over to a teammate, but Podador, good timing on that block. And Gonzalez once again is going to the free throw line after attacking the defense of Abad. Abad claiming that he had his hands up, but of course there was some contact on the body, and Gonzalez was also clipped on his elbow going up for that shot. So Gonzalez now at the free throw line for the second time here in the third quarter. Once again misses the first free throw. Gonzalez splits his charities once again, going 2 for 4 from his last 2 trips to the line. This Balikig getting screen here. Horns play for St. Benil as Archaga gets that ball deflected from him, but the ball stays with the Blazers. Archaga finds Balikig cutting to the basket, and the ball is deflected once again. Good hands from Smash Basketball. Ball will stay with the Blazers with 6 seconds left on their shot clock as Kua checks into the game for Podador. Podador playing good defense so far here for CSB. The ball once again poked free from Arshaga. 4 seconds left on the shot clock of St. Benilde. Now it's going to be a sideline inbound as Balikig calls for a play. 4 seconds to shoot now for St. Benilde. That's short. That shot is short for Balikig. Zoilo once again hitting a three-pointer. Secondary break there, finished off by the point guard of Smash Basketball. A dangerous player here on the court right now is Zoilo, lighting it up from deep in the past few possessions, but Vanguardia with a good cut to the basket, finishing off with a layup there. 49-41 is now just an 8-point lead for St. Benilde as Gonzalez works in the paint against Arshaga. Manlalang cutting to the basket. Unselfish play by Gonzalez, finding Manlalang for that layup. Gonzalez steals the ball from Arshaga, taking candy from a baby. A sidestep there, telegraphed perfectly by Arshaga. Matthew Hukom open for a three-pointer, overshoots, but good tap by Kua to save the possession for the Blazers. Arshaga taking his time, jogging down the floor as he sets a screen for Balikig. Balikig gives it over to a cutting Hukom, but miscommunication there as Balikig was expecting Hukom to be in the corner, but instead Hukom was cutting to the basket. That's going to be a turnover for St. Benilde as we see that last play, Gonzalez to Manlalang for that layup. That's going to be a holding foul on Balikig. Vega trying to post up the slightly shorter Balikig. There's going to be a pair of substitutions now for the College of St. Benilde. Before we go back to the action here, let's turn you over to our courtside reporter, Beyonce Acosta. Beyonce, what do you have for us?
Kyle, when asked about what was lacking in the first half for the Smash Basketball, Coach Rafael said that it was food. Wala atang kain tong mga to, kaya ang tatamlay, he joked. Gusto na nga raw pumasok mismo ni Coach Rafael para maipaalala sa Smash na enjoyin lang ang laro at ngumiti para mailabas nila ang kaya nila. They recognize the shooting capabilities of the Blazers, which is why their focus for this half is a more intense arc defense. On the other hand, Coach Paulo Layig reminded the Blazers to not be complacent because a hint of relaxation can be all the other team needs to turn the game around. More time mindfulness can be helpful too, as well as better communicative defense. Earlier, he was shouting no more fouls from their bench. Let's see whether the tide will continue flowing as is or will it turn the other way. Kyle?
Thank you for that report, Beyonce. And yes, let's see if the tide will turn here as Arshaga misses that three-pointer. It's now just a 6-point lead for St. Benilde. Halfway mark now here in the third quarter. What was once an 18-point deficit is now just down to 6. And Smash Basketball has definitely made this game a lot more interesting. Going on a run here to trim this lead. Good ball movement by St. Benilde. Ends up in a corner three-pointer by Kua. Kua not disappointing Balikig with that extra pass, knocking it down. The corner three is actually one of the easiest shots in basketball if you're able to master it. Corner three-pointer, there's a shorter distance compared to a perimeter three-pointer or the top of the key, and if you master that, that adds a lot more to your arsenal and opens up the floor. Speaking of opening things up, Zipagan, mid-range jumper in front at the right around the free throw line rather, as Balikig overshoots that mid-range jumper. You see Pagan using that in and out dribble to freeze Arsiaga, but in and out on that shot. As Podador takes it coast to coast for that layup. Zoilo Sori missed there. Another in and out basket for Smash. Almost another layup in transition here. But both teams missing some easy looks. But Balikig stealing that ball and giving it the possession back to his team, but decides to slow it down this time so they can set up their half-court offense. And Arsiaga handing it over to Podador, who takes a long three-pointer. Long three-pointer gets a long rebound. Now it's Smash basketball that's off and running. As Zipagan overshoots the mark, but Smash basketball retains possession. Gonzalez getting the offensive rebound. Zoilo with a no-look pass to Gonzalez, and it's going to be the third time already this quarter wherein Eugene Gonzalez is going to head to the free throw line. And you can see by the way he has his hands on his knees how hard he has been working here in this ball game, huffing and puffing before attempting these two free throws is Eugene Gonzalez with the unenviable task of manning the paint for Smash basketball against the likes of Arsiaga and Abad. Hits the first free throw. He went 2 for 4 on his last 2 trips, but now making good on both his attempts. As we have a 3-man substitution here for Smash basketball, but rather make that a 4-man substitution for Smash basketball. Still in a 1-2-2 zone are the pink shirts, with Lance Ronquillo calling the play here for Ortega to post up, and Ortega with a smile on his face, getting that and one here. Agustin probably wasn't expecting Ortega to post him up there, but Ortega getting fouled in the process and completes the and one, which extends this lead by St. Benil. It's now 57-47, back to double digits here for the white shirts with just over 2 minutes remaining here in the third quarter. St. Benil now in the penalty, and that is not a good foul by Ortega. If you are going to contest a jump shooter, well, you have to jump straight up. You can't jump moving forward. As Podador was reminding him to simply just put a hand up, especially on the shorter Tibang. You don't really need to jump that high to contest that shot. All you need to do is put a hand up. Tibang now with 3 free throws coming up, makes good on his first. Good on the second as well. And he knocks all 3 free throws down, making Ortega pay for fouling him for in attempting that three-pointer. Good pass by Hukom to Vanguardia, who makes another pass to Podador in the corner, which negates the 3 free throws that Tibang just hit. The lead is back to 10 here for St. Benilde. Not a lot happening here for the offense of Smash. A little stagnant on this play, and it results in a turnover. Miscommunication there. Tibang just unable to get that kick-out pass as Patrick Garcia checks back into this game, try and bring some stability. Garcia, one of the veterans of this Smash squad. As Ortega, nowhere to go here, but Podador finding the cutting Hukom. Garcia caught napping on defense. ball watching that time was Patrick Garcia, and Hukom made him pay. Extends his lead to 12, 62 to 50. And Tibang giving the ball up to Yao. Yao likes those long three-pointers. This time overshoots the mark. Lance Ronquillo gets the rebound, but turns it over. That pass way too strong for Matthew Hukom. Matthew Hukom asking for a bounce pass there, which probably would have resulted in a layup, seeing as there was no defender in front of Matthew Hukom. So Smash Basketball dodging a bullet there. And because of that turnover, Lance Ronquillo gets replaced by Ison. Good defense here in the interior for the Blazers. And good decision by Ortega, pulling it out for what is going to be the Blazers' last shot here. Shot clock's already turned off. 7 seconds on the game clock with Matthew Hukom getting a screen from Vanguardia. And Ortega's last second three-pointer off the mark here, but still St. Benilde up comfortably heading into the fourth quarter. 63 to 50 is the score in favor of the white shirts. We have one more quarter of basketball action left between these two teams, and we will be back after this short break. Fourth and final quarter is underway here with St. Benilde up by 12. Correction, it was 63 to 50 at the end of the third quarter, with our officials correcting the score. Is 62 to 50 in favor of St. Benilde as Ison passes it over to Ortega in the corner, but Vanguardia gets that ball and makes good on that putback. That's going to be a foul there on Eugene Gonzalez, which sends Matthew Hukom to the line for 2 free throws here. First team foul for the fourth quarter for Smash Basketball. Matthew Hukom misses his second free throw. Smash Basketball dodging a bullet there. That was a 3-on-1 for St. Benilde. But that's going to be another turnover for Smash. And then and one for Matthew Hukom, displaying the upper body strength there to absorb the contact, but was still able to get that shot off. Let's look at that. That was a bit of a hard foul there coming from Tibang. Tibang, of course, was not happy that he got poked in the eye in the previous play and the foul was not called, taking out his frustrations on Matthew Hukom. And Matthew Hukom making the defense pay with an N1. Another trip to the line. This time he completes the N1, and the lead is now back up to 18. Earlier in the first half, the lead was as high as 18. And if Smash Basketball can't get another run to go here in the fourth quarter, the Blazers might just run away with a victory here. As Ortega getting some oohs and ahs from his teammates with that beautiful spin just off the mark for that layup. But that was a lazy pass coming from Zoilo. Could have lobbed it up to the taller Eugene Gonzalez, but Hukom sprinting back on defense as if they weren't up by 18, deflecting that pass. Ball will stay with Smash Basketball as we check out that last play. That would have been an easy layup for Gonzalez, but instead Hukom getting a deflection to force Smash Basketball to set up their half-court offense. But nevertheless, 2 points for the pink shirts. Ison calling the play here for CSB as Podador slow steps his way into the lane, short on that floater. Zoilo, he hit a couple of these earlier. Those transition three-pointers by Zoilo. And because he hit two earlier, Ison had to respect the shot. But this is the second time already this game that a three-point attempt by Smash Basketball was fouled. And that is a no-no, a mortal sin in the sport of basketball. Ison fouling Zoilo, which is going to give 3 free throws to the Spitfire point guard of Smash. But luckily for CSB, Zoilo misses on the first, as we see Coach Rafael Flores right now for Smash Basketball is still recovering from that ACL tear, trying to guide his teammates to another comeback victory as Zoilo hits 2 out of 3 on that trip. Horns play now for CSB with Podador trying to give the ball to the post to Vanguardia, but good denial there on the defense's part. Another turnover for CSB, and Zoilo is off and running. Almost got the ball to go. Nevertheless, a foul is going to be called on Vanguardia, and another trip to the free throw line here for Zoilo. And this was that last play. Garcia getting a steal, and Zoilo switching hands in mid-air to avoid the block. Zoilo hits the first of 2 free throws as we see some players from Perpetual in the background warming up for their matchup against the San Beda Red Lions. Both Team B squads, of course. This league mainly comprised of Team B teams, mixed in with a few Team A players here and there, but nevertheless mostly comprised of reserves and Team B players. As Vanguardia attempts a three-pointer, hits the back rim, and the ball foils into the hands of Zoilo. Miscommunication there. Zoilo passes the ball to Podador, but Podador picking up his dribble in the back court. Almost got away with a double dribble. Almost is the key word there, immediately apologizing. Coach Paulo Layo, as Hukom checks back into this game, replacing Pua. And Ortega checking in for Vanguardia. Vanguardia had a good first quarter. His offense slowed down a bit here in the second half. Nevertheless, his contributions have been vital to St. Benilde enjoying a 12-point lead here with 6 minutes and 42 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. Still a lot of time as Hukom gets called for a foul. And in every quarter here so far, St. Benil has gotten into the penalty early. And if Smash Basketball can get to the free throw line and trim this lead down, they may as well surprise another NCAA squad with a comeback here. That is going to be another foul on St. Benil. This time it's going to be called on Podador. And with that foul, that is going to be St. Benil's 4th team foul. And there's going to be free throws from here on out for Smash Basketball. This time Eugene Gonzalez at the line for 2. Unselfish play there from Hucom, finding Ortega for a wide open three-pointer, and Ortega repays that trust and gets the steal on the other end of the floor as Balikig surveys the defense and finds Podador for a corner attempt, but decides to drive baseline instead. Gets hip checked in the process, and ball will stay with the St. Benil Blazers. And that foul is going to be called on Patrick Garcia, who sits on the bench. Balikig asking for a screen from Arshaga. Beautiful move there coming from Balikig. Calling on his own number that time instead of dishing it off, hitting that layup. And the lead is now back up to 16. Eugene Gonzalez trying to take advantage of the defense of Arshaga. And just as we expected, it's going to be another foul for St. Benilde. And they have been in the penalty for the last 2 possessions. Gonzalez now back at the free throw line. Luckily for St. Benilde, Gonzalez hasn't been as consistent as you would like on the free throw line. He has been getting to the line a lot. It's just a matter of knocking those free throws down. And he goes 0 for 2 on that trip. Ortega overshoots that three-pointer. And the putback by Balikig was blocked. And Zoila with a beautiful behind-the-back pass here. Finished off, plus another foul on St. Benilde. This time it's going to be on Matthew Hucom. Check that last play out. Ball movement and extra passes coming from Smash Basketball. Patani finishing it off, plus the foul. Sorry turnover there coming from the pink shirts. And still a lot of time, 4 minutes, 43 seconds remaining. Only a 13-point lead for St. Benilde, but you have to take care of every possession if you're Smash Basketball, if you hope to get back into this thing. And also make your free throw, seeing as St. Benilde has already been in the penalty, but you haven't really capitalized on it as Podador airballs that three-pointer. taking it all the way. Del Ortega. That's going to be 3 seconds called on Vega. Camped too long in the paint as Eugene Gonzalez checks back into this game for Zipagan. And for St. Benil, Ortega, who hit that layup just a possession ago, is replaced by Matthew Hucom. Now Iverson cut here to free up Hucom, but hands it over to Balikig. Asking for a screen, Arshaga rolling to the basket. Gets the basket to go, plus the foul. That was a nice entry pass coming from Balikig right into the hands of Arshaga. And Vega, who fouls out of this ball game, was late on that rotation, which freed up Arshaga for that basket. There we see Vega, who will have to sit out the remaining 3 minutes and 40 seconds of this game with his 5th and final foul. Luckily for Smash Basketball, Arshaga misses the and one free throw. Who else but Eugene Gonzalez picks up the loose ball and gets that put back to go. Could have taken that layup, but Potador instead dishes it out to Vanguardia. Now it's a two-man game once again between Balikig and Arshaga. Balikig reading the defense. And Matthew Hucom, though, unable to make him pay. But Arshaga finds, well, almost turnover there, but Matthew Hucom finishes it off with a layup. And if Smash Basketball isn't able to get some stops and string together some baskets in the next few possessions, you can go ahead and give this win to St. Benil, which would be their second win of our second conference. And if they do go on to win this one, Smash Basketball will fall to a 1-1 win-loss record. That's going to be out of bounds. Ball will go back to the pink shirts. 2 minutes and 11 seconds remaining here in the 4th and final quarter. First free throw is good for Patani. But still mathematically possible with 2 minutes and 11 seconds remaining. But with the way St. Benilde has been playing, things looking unlikely here. That Smash Basketball is going to get back into this game. 15-point deficit. And a timeout is called by Coach Paulo Layug. Don't go anywhere. We still have a few minutes of action remaining between St. Benilde and Smash Basketball. Podador almost fouled there by Zipagan, but Lance Ronquillo now with the leather asking for a screen from Arshaga. Arshaga with that short hook to extend this lead once again, and Hukom getting a steal. Matthew Hukom has displayed his overall brilliance in today's game to try and get his team on the winning column. And that's going to be a loose ball foul by Eugene Gonzalez, boxing out Ortega. And it's going to be 2 free throws coming up here for Ortega. And at this point, we are just waiting for the final score. The result, way out of hand, is going to be a victory here for the College of St. Benil Blazers. Smash Basketball putting up a valiant fight. Regardless of what the score looks like at the moment, Smash Basketball went on a run to cut this deficit to single digits. But in the end, St. Benil just doing all the right things, especially on the defensive side, to force some turnovers, which they converted. And the outside shooting of St. Benil in this game has been immaculate as well, with Hukom, Ortega, Podador, Vanguardia, almost everyone chipping in. That is going to be a turnover here for Abad. Abad has a good size on him, decent height for a local big man. Just needs to polish his offensive game, get used to a higher level of basketball. But with Coach Paulo Layug at the helm, you know he's going to be able to develop these young boys, these young men rather, into high quality basketball players, as that is another foul for St. Benil and another trip to the line for Eugene Gonzalez. Once again, short on his first free throw. Good pass there, Lance Ronquillo to Matthew Hukom. Everyone in the gym thought Lance Ronquillo was going up for that shot, but instead Matthew Hukom underneath the basket. Very unselfish from CSB's point guard. Matthew Hukom adding to his total here, making it easy for me and for everyone else, I guess, to decide who the player of the game will be. That is all she wrote for the first game of our quadruple header here in the second conference of the NDSL. College of St. Benil Blazers getting a 21-point victory, 85-64 at the expense of Smash Basketball, who go down 1-1 in the win-loss column. St. Benil, meanwhile, going up to 1-1, avenging their loss against the San Beda Red Lions in their first game here. And for our collegiate basketball fans, please do not go anywhere. We still have 3 games to go on this hot and humid Tuesday morning here at the Met Park Sports Center in Pasay City, as our courtside reporter Beyonce Acosta heads on over to interview our best player of the game. But before that, we have our move of the game, and that is this coast-to-coast sidestep layup by Ortega. Just taking the ball all the way to the hole and evading all defenders in the way. And once again, St. Benil 85-64, 21-point victory for the Blazers. And here we have our player of the game, Matthew Hukom. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. Complete ball game for the transferee from De La Salle University, now representing the College of St. Benil Blazers, doing it on both ends of the floor. Congratulations to Matthew Hucom. Now we have Beyonce Acosta on the side with the interview with our player of the game.
Thank you, Cholo. You are right. Beside me is the best player for today's game who helped the Blazers get their first ever win in this league. Congratulations, Matthew Hucom. Now, even though Smash Basketball has the age and the experience over your comparably young team, what is the secret ingredient that you believe your team showed in this game that the other team has lacked?
Kami, 1 week kami nag-practice at pinagandaan namin yung smash kasi di naman madali yung smash kasi may chemistry naman, di naman sila, kaso lang hindi school team sila Parang club team, tsaka kami may chemistry na talaga kami kasi palagi kaming sama-sama sa ensayo, tsaka sa dorm namin, palagi may uusap kung anong gagawin, and yun lang.
With 6 minutes left on the clock, your team hit penalty. How did you manage to keep the lead on your side over Smash, who capitalizes on their opponent's fouls, even scoring double digits from free throws in their last game?
Nag-maintain lang kami sa lamang namin kasi lamang nga kami nung first half and penalty na kaagad kami. Sabi lang ni coach, wag muna mag-foul kasi yun nga, pag naka-foul kami, free throw sila, tapos mahabol yung score namin. Kaya sabi ni coach, yun lang, lang yung foul.
Now, Matthew, you are a rising star. I'm sure you have a lot of supporters. To whom do you dedicate this first win to, and who do you want to thank?
Again. Shout out po kay Lord na binigay namin yung panalo nito, and sa family ko na sa Dumaguete, sa Sibulan, Negros Oriental. Shout out ko mama, papa ko, and kapatid ko, and lolo ko. And sa Badon family, Katan, Sarno, and sa mga Chans, thank you. And sa Reyes family, shout out sa inyo, and sa CSB community, and shout out sa teammate ko na pinupush lang yung sarili niya para manalo kami, and yun lang. And shout out pala sa girlfriend ko sa Dumaguete.
Again, congratulations on your first ever win, Matthew. Let's see if you can keep it a winning streak. Cholo?
Thank you so much, Beyonce, for that interview with our player of the game. Congratulations once again to Matthew Hucom and the rest of the CSB Blazers. But next up, we have the Marinerong Pilipino San Beda Red Lions going up against the Perpetual Altas for our second game of our quadruple header. Again, my name is Kyle Sanchez, and we will be back for our second game of the day.